for the feminine, yet often the biggest feedback I get, is like the guy comes home and goes, I dropped the kids at school. I did a great job. Yeah, thinking that, and the feminine's like, yeah, but who packed the lunch? Who knew they had music class? Who knew they had a nut allergy? The feminine is holding it all. And so what I teach the men is you've got to be able to connect with it all. Yeah. And the biggest thing with the feminine, my wife often says, she works with women in business, is you have a to-do list and a to-don't list.
Oh.
Like the feminine needs to have a to-don't list. Yeah. Just because you connect with everything doesn't mean you have to do it all.
Oh, that's so true. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should be doing it.
Exactly.
It reminds me of grocery shopping. So when my partner goes grocery shopping, he goes in, he gets that shit, and he gets out. Me, when I get home, he's like, where the hell have you been? It's been 2 hours. And I was like, I ran into this person and that person, and I went down that aisle, and then I had to go back down that aisle over there. And then I thought of something else I had to get. And I saw the neighbor, and then I got a coffee, and I'm just like
Exactly. It's connection. The feminine's looking for connection. Where's the connection? Oh, here it is. Yeah. The masculine is looking for outcome, looking for the goal, looking for the achievement. I talk about man shopping. Yeah. And one of the things I teach the men, one of the biggest challenges for men is to buy a beautiful gift for their partner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you can't buy it when you're in your masculine.
You've
got to buy it from your feminine. You've got to go and explore. You've got to be curious. You've got to open your heart. Yeah, it takes forever. You've got to put a couple of hours aside and just wander through a beautiful crystal shop or a beautiful, home shop. And you've got to feel the connection. Yeah, that's how you create a gift.
Buy me a gift card. I'm telling you, everyone in here knows, don't buy me a gift card.
You're on. Exactly. Or the petrol station, the flowers from the and the chocolate, the truck stop.
I'm okay with
exactly to your point though. Guys think I just got to go in here and buy a present for my wife. And it's like shopping. It's like going to the groceries. Yeah, it's such a tension for the guys, and it always falls flat. Yeah, because they haven't connected with the context. What is this actually about? And so such simple things can make such a difference, as you know, in relationship.
Another thing is I think of when we're shopping, he walks so damn fast. I mean, I know I'm shorter than him and my legs are shorter, but I'm like, holy crap. I mean, like I'd have to jog to catch up with him sometimes.
It's such a big, and again, coming back to expectations in relationship, it's really been clear. Sometimes with my wife and I'm like, I'm just going to do a man shop. Yeah. I've just got to go and do a man shop. I'm just going to get some things. Yeah. And sometimes it's like, okay, let's go shopping together. And I've just got to go into my feminine, get present and do my best to stay connected and flow,
I felt the opposite. I'm like, I got to get in my masculine and start putting on my running shoes. And No, but it is true, though. It's so important to be able to understand and empathize, right, with the people in your life, whether it's business, your coworkers, your children, partner, family.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned passion before. The link to passion is compassion. Yeah, and that's the deeper place. And if you can bring the 3 C's to bring to relationship, to leadership, again, coming back, firstly is connection, secondly is compassion, and the third is curiosity. Just be curious. Just be curious. Just be curious. You know what I mean? Like we so disconnect. Yeah, block our hearts and want to be, right or judgmental, which we all do. Yet again, if you can cultivate that connection and presence with yourself and just be compassionate, who knows this person's journey? Who knows what their day's been like? Yeah, and from there, just be curious, because every decision they're making is some filter in their mind. Yeah, and it's fascinating as a leader to be curious and go, that's really interesting the way you did that. Tell me more.
Right. I was going to say curiosity reminds me of, I mean, a lot of people get stuck in life. They get stuck, either stuck in relationships or stuck. I can't move up into this next level. And I think curiosity and seeking really helps push that.
Yeah.
Or what do you think? That's a really hard one.
Yeah.
People get stuck.
People get stuck. If you think about purpose, the key with purpose is to live a life of inquiry. Yeah. And that's a life of curiosity, a life of questioning, a life of reflection, a life of contemplation. Yeah. And so, because our purpose, our deepest purpose reveals itself. Very few people wake up and go, this is my purpose. Yeah. But if they're willing to, there's a few keys to it. If you're willing to live a life of inquiry, yeah, and inquiring about yourself. And so the thing about being stuck is being curious with what's going on for me. Yeah, what's going on for me here? That willingness to be reflective, to be contemplative, yeah, getting to know yourself. And that is, as you say, curiosity. It's a level of just being curious. What's going on? Like, am I stuck in my head? Am I overanalyzing? Like, am I thinking myself too much, or am I too scared to make the next move? My comfort zone, my fear.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it that I need to know before I make a move? And again, as coming back to self-leadership, knowing yourself, time reflecting with yourself is, it's the anchor to all of this.
Well, and it seems like the base of all what you were saying, what might hold people back is fear. Fear is kind of behind everything.
Yeah.
So overcoming, the fear and taking risks, putting yourself out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I've recently launched my own podcast called True Freedom. And it's because that's the deepest desire for the masculine. And as young men, we think freedom is outside of us. It's about climbing a mountain. It's about going to India. It's about going on a surf trip. And on the hero's journey, we get to the point where we realize that freedom lives within us. The Holy Grail is within us. And to experience freedom, you have to lean into your fear.
Yeah.
And as you know, there's instinctive fear and there's psychological fear. So instinctive fear is, if the shark's in the ocean and I'm surfing, I'm probably going to get out. Yeah, it's probably good to, use my instincts. If the saber-toothed tiger's coming for me, it's good to have that level of fear. Psychological fear, this overthinking mind, and fear, as you know, FEAR, stands for false expectations appearing real.
Ooh.
Yeah. So our thinking mind projects into the future about everything that's going to happen, all of these false expectations.
I have to write that one down. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. False expectations appearing real. And so we project into the future all of these thought patterns, all of these constructs. We then create an emotion of fear. Yeah. And think it's true. We think all of this is going to happen. All this, we're worrying about something that hasn't even happened.
There's a lot of that going on in the world.
Absolutely. Fear is
a lot of
predominant
paranoid, paranoid about conspiracy. This, me too, sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Particularly our thinking mind. We have 80,000 thoughts a day. Most of them are negative. Our thinking mind. Yeah, our thinking mind is in overload. Again, that's why getting present, the thinking mind is like a really fast train that's just been conditioned in our Western world. And if you want to stop a fast train, you don't jump in front of it, you just slow it down. You've got to slow it down. Reflection, contemplation, meditation, prayer, exercise, all those things, and start to slow it down.
I hear a lot in you. It keeps, and I haven't mentioned it yet, but I keep feeling this connection to impermanence with you. You talked about letting go. You talked about, change, and transformation. And for me, impermanence was one of the biggest lessons ever.
The only thing that's certain is change. Yeah. And if you think about the creative energy that holds this universe together, whatever you label it, it's constantly expanding and changing. And we are part of that. Fundamentally, spirituality, is the willingness to let go of the illusion of separateness. Yeah. However you define that, it's like taking a breath in and going, that's my oxygen. It's like, well, hang on a tick. There's there's the big breath and there's your experience of that. Yeah. And so if you accept that this creative energy is constantly expanding, constantly moving, again, it's the feminine flow, the feminine movement, and that somehow we are connected to that. And we know the scientists meet the spiritualists. They just went around different roads. And they come into the quantum field, they come into the oneness, whatever you want to call it. And so if you spoke to a scientist, they would say everything is moving, energy has to move, impermanence. If you spoke to a Buddhist, it's all about letting go of attachment, impermanence. So I believe, and it's a beautiful reflection back. I believe that everything is moving and shifting all of the time. And I think, going back to your question about being stuck, one of the big journeys is attachment. To give you a little example, you've got a pen in your hand, Shana. Is that right?
Oh, I did. I put it down. I always have something in my hand, though.
Okay, pick the pen. If you pick the pen up again, and any of our listeners, pick a pen or an object, I want you to really hold that pen as tight as you can. Tight, tight, tight. Really squeeze it. Yep. Really hold on. This is so important. This is the pen. Yep. What does that feel like?
So much tension all the way up to my neck.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'd like you to loosen your grip on the pen until you're really just lightly touching it. What does that feel like?
Relaxing. Even my breath slows down.
Yeah. And that's the difference between attachment and detachment, between resistance and flow. Every day there are two trains that leave your house. One is the resistance train, one is the flow train. You get to choose. You can resist life, you can squeeze hard on life, you can control things. Remember, when we look at the world, there's only two things we ever see: the way we want it to be, or the way we think it should be. And as soon as you go down there, you're in resistance, you're in judgment, you're in control, you're holding that pen really high. But if you can hold life a little bit more lightly, it's not being disrespectful or abdicating your responsibilities. Right. But get in the flow. Flow is just presence expressed. You're just holding it lightly. Flow is always moving. The water has to move. It has to find the ocean. It'll move around the rock.
God, I love how nature teaches us this. I was just saying, we had beautiful sunset. I was also outside and grateful that the kid down the street came and took all my leaves out of my yard.
Beautiful.
Well, $60 worth, but, the tree cannot hold on to its leaves. It can't.
Exactly. And even in business, people have to realize there are times, fallow times. There are times when it needs to regenerate, regroup.
Which is why being present is so important, because the only moment that is sure is this one right here. Yeah,
exactly. And that's it's the paradox between the being and the doing. Like, again, which a lot of your guests have shared. The being is our vertical dimension, it's our Harik line, it's our Shushumni. You cultivate the being while you're doing. So how can I be present while I'm changing the diaper, while I'm doing the podcast? Because we're action oriented.
I told you I have ADHD. I'm a half-fast multitasker. I can tell you that much. So, I would like to ask you for some advice, because I am trying to multitask and finishing my book. When someone's like me, who has ADHD, who's very busy, spreading myself thin everywhere, but I really want to get my book finished.
Yep.
What advice do you have to complete a task that's important?
What's the fear of slowing down for you?
You mean like making the space for it?
Yeah, just being
Yeah.
more present with whatever task is there instead of rushing ahead.
That other things will fall.
Right. Is that true, or is it a fear?
Well, I mean, I do everything by myself when it comes to podcasting. So like if I don't, finish an episode and edit it and all that and get it out, yeah. I've never not put out an episode in 4 years, twice a
Yeah.
week. Never.
And what does receiving and support mean to you?
Got me.
Yeah. Yeah. And receptivity, which is a divine feminine quality, is also very distorted in the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
What is the resistance to receiving?
Mm-hmm.
To being open, to saying, I accept.
Yeah, it's generational. It's definitely conditioned. This is the worst part for me. This is me. You really honed in on my weakness.
A strength.
Yeah.
And just feel it in your body. Just notice that. Yeah. And just that's the acknowledgement piece. Like instead of solving it, resisting it, just feel it. Feel that. Like it's such a big heart, Shanna, you have. Such a giving heart, yet I can feel it. It's almost that just to, like, in a good way, to surrender to support. You know what I mean? It's like there's such a tension there for you that it'll all fall apart, or it's a weakness, or people won't do it the way I do it, or whatever the stories are.
You got me right there too.
Yeah.
I've had so many people who have offered help.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I better do it.
Yeah.
Because I want it done right. Or, I don't trust that someone else will do it, the way I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Surrendering.
can you see, it's that surrender. And one of the most beautiful things to offer somebody, if they're willing to give, is to receive.
I know. You're so right. Yes, I know. This has always been my thing. This is my hiccup. I'm a damn Taurus.
Yeah, me too.
I'm stubborn.
And full of bull.
Blame it on the start.
But just that place you were reflecting, the feeling, because it is obviously ancestral, but there's a deep fear there, and there's a story there. Yeah. And I think at some level, all of these constructs are our limited ego, our identity, our sense of self. This is Shana. This is how Shana is in the world. This is how people perceive Shana. Yeah.
And I also think that I grew up admiring the martyr. And I thought that was beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. And as you know, when you're on the aeroplane and the oxygen mask comes down, what do they say? No, it really is that.
And I probably wouldn't.
No, you probably wouldn't. It's like, here I am, as my wife says, the burning martyr, right till the end. Yes, it's okay. It's only a flesh wound. So to answer your question, you can get a sense of what might be holding you back from completing a task. But the key to anything, so firstly, the biggest asset we have in life is our attention. Where your attention goes, energy flows. And I know with ADHD, it's tricky because you're scooting around, and the more, and there's some incredible work out there now, coaching work, neuroscience around ADHD, because we know all of the traditional teachings, all of the science tells us where your attention goes, energy flows. Whatever you want to manifest in your life, it's where am I putting my attention?
So true.
Yeah. The second key, and I work a lot with men on this, is commitment. And the commitment paradox. True freedom only lives through true commitment. The third step, so we've got our attention, we've got our commitment, and then it's staying in the flow.
Okay.
And so absolutely it's important to set a goal, a vision, a timeline, but hold it lightly. Because you just don't know what's going to reveal itself. It could be that the last 2 chapters of this book didn't get written because you needed to have another experience that was going to make this book a bestseller. Do you know what I mean? Like, but when we force
that has happened. Yes.
There you go. Exactly. When we force it against a timeline, again, depending on the context, we obviously want to set the intention and complete. Yet notice resistance or flow. If you keep meeting resistance, there could be, again, go back to the inquiry, that reflection.
I also think back to something you said is how you're teaching people to go within to connect with that. And I really have been. When I stopped worrying about it so much and I made space and I was present with it, what I received was, you already have enough for 1 book. You even probably have enough for 2 books. So maybe this isn't 1 book. Maybe this is a series. And maybe you need to stop worrying about finding the end game, because the information is going to constantly flow because you're in this. So finish what you have already. It's done.
There it is.
That's what I received inward,
that's the inward, that's the intuition, that's the guidance. Follow the guidance, follow the flow. That feels authentic to me. How does that feel to you?
It feels right to me too. And I think that I need to get off of the idea. I need to let go. Like the tree. Let go of the idea that it's going to just be the one and done. And that I need to open myself up with that this is evolving. And that's why it's not done, because I'm still going through all of it. But I definitely have enough for 2 books already.
Absolutely. I mean, every episode you're learning and growing. And so tell me this, just to give you, so if you want to just check in to yourself, the difference between commitment and sitting on the fence. So if you just close your eyes and just come into your body and just notice what it feels like when you've committed to something, you've made a decision that this is it. Notice what it feels like in your body, in your mind, in your heart. What does that feel like, Shanna, when you've done that?
This is a good one. Because it feels nice. It feels complete. It feels whole. I feel relaxed. And then even the thought of being on the fence, there's no stability there. There's no balance. There's this uncertainty. Am I going to fall? Am I going to catch myself? Yeah,
that's it. And
you're good.
But can you feel the energetic difference?
Oh yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's what we want to lock in.
I could feel the energy of almost, well, I would just call it energy on my chest, but like anxiety rising up to even have thought to be on the fence.
Yes, exactly. And that's where there's no freedom on the fence. It's like, I'm in, I'm not in. It's like, it's tense. It's like, and a lot of people live their life on the fence. And it's exhausting.
Commit.
Just commit.
Even if you don't want to do it, then don't. Either way. Just commit to it.
Exactly.
I asked a friend who also has ADHD, who I met through the podcast, she's a listener, to hold me accountable like every week. And so she's never not messaged me since the day I asked her. And it's probably been 6 months. Every single Sunday, she's like, or Saturday, it's accountability day, buddy. And sometimes I just want to like give her the finger. Thanks for reminding me how I didn't do anything.
That's right. Oh,
but she was committed. She was committed to help me.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is so beautiful.
That's it. It is, and that's the beauty of it. And it's that.
Oh yeah. Someone once told me that too. If you're going to ask somebody for help and they help you and you don't take it, like, that's the worst. When you have someone, see, I have an issue with this.
Yeah. So receiving help, what you were
Mm-hmm.
saying earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the way to explore it is, again, you started to do earlier. What's the story you tell yourself?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole
Right.
story. The subconscious mind, 90% of your operating system, as you know, is your subconscious mind.
Right. I
But you've got
know.
all this story and all these beliefs around who I am in the world, the generational
Right.
line of women, the martyr,
I
and
can see myself just buried. Do you need help? No, I'm good.
yeah, that me too.
God.
It's like the last person standing, and it's like, you know,
Oh my God. It's
I know.
terrible.
The interesting thing, if we just circle back, is just commit.
Because
Just
how
commit
can you
to
be a
receiving.
leader if you don't have people
Yeah,
supporting?
exactly. Exactly. How can you leverage all of your magnificence, doing it all your own, the one person doing it all?
I mean,
Um,
seriously,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
crazy. I feel like you've been divinely put tonight in my life to help me see this about me. So thank you for
Mm,
using those questions and helping me do this inquiry into, what might be holding me back, because logically, like I said, how can you be a leader without a support system beneath you? What are you leading?
yeah. Yeah, thank you, Shanna. It's so true. And that demonstration of loving yourself, like truly loving yourself by allowing, receptivity and support, is such a demonstration for your listeners, for your community, for your children, like that, that willingness to receive love and support,
Yes, it's so true,
yeah.
because I will never be free until I am
Mm,
free from that.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And it's
Exactly.
my
And,
own, it's my own imprisonment.
yeah,
No one else.
yeah, yeah, I know. That's it. It's a great awareness as well. That's where we get stuck. One of the biggest places where we resist and limit freedom is our thought patterns, our constructs, our belief systems, instead of the
Wow.
willingness to let that go. So,
Mm.
oh, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, it feels like
Yes, yes.
feels like we'll have to do session 2 at some point. See how you go in a
I
couple of months'
know.
time. Yeah,
So when I got the
yeah.
book done and
Yep.
I'm owning my
Yep.
business woman in my DNA, and
Yep.
I've got all kinds of people helping me, to get to
Yes.
where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. Yes, that would be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. If it
Yeah.
happens, I'm definitely gonna call you. You know what? You're right, because I don't want to be on that fence. That did not feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
No, that was not comfortable actually at all. And,
Mm.
it's no wonder why people go around with tension in their bodies, being on the fence or holding on too tight. Our body is definitely reacting to all of what's going on.
Yeah. And for all the listeners, if you want to know what you're committed to, just watch your behavior.
Mm,
That's just giving you information. Successful people, whatever that means, entrepreneurs,
yeah.
startups, a lot of the guests you've had, they're just
Hmm.
committed to their vision.
Yeah.
They've just made that decision. Now the road can be rocky, it's windy, it's not linear.
Hmm.
Yeah. But they wake up each day committed to that vision, to being the best version of themselves, whatever that is. Yeah.
Mm.
And that's the gig. And that, if you bring passion to that, to your point,
Oh yeah.
like, yeah, exactly. You bring presence, passion to that commitment. It's like, whoa, look out, whatever,
Right.
you
I
know.
mean, I wish that you were here in America. I would definitely vote for president, for Bodhi Aldridge for
Yeah.
president.
That's right. The new leadership. Here we go.
We need someone like you desperately.
We certainly
that'd be
need more leaders. There is a consciousness rising, as I mentioned, and you're part of it. I'm part of it. Our children are part of it, you know, and this leadership, yeah, the more of these conversations and the more people in business that embrace this consciousness, the more exciting it will be, for sure.
Well, you know, I was listening to some of your testimonies on your website, and there, you know, it wasn't about being impressive. And these people were very heartfelt, authentic.
Yeah.
And I was glad that I listened to them. I mean, they're very successful people who I can tell you've made a huge difference in their lives. I mean, you've made a difference in my life in just an hour. So thank you so much. And I find it just even more, you know, generous that you also are offering our listeners a mini course for 5 steps to freedom and flow. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's a course I put together. It's on the website. I think the link's there in the show notes. And yeah, what I found is so many people want to explore this work. Yeah, and as you know, it's how do I access it? And so it's just a little mini course on some of the things we've touched on today. So I encourage the listeners to download. It's free. And just that real, again, you know, it's our inherent state. Freedom is our natural state. Freedom and flow,
Yes.
you know, the river and the riverbanks, you know. So yeah, please enjoy it. The listeners enjoy it. Love to hear feedback. The website's there, bodhialdridge.com. And yeah, I'm excited about this work, and I'm also excited about your journey now.
Me too. Absolutely. You know, I feel like there's so many things I have overcome, you know, but you know, you're forever growing. And I think if you're not, then you're dead. Right?
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful saying, you know. What's blocking you isn't in the way, it is the way.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Lean into that. Yes.
Exactly. Lean into it.
Yeah. I love that men are starting to, like you said, this is a conscious generation. I love it. And I love when I connect with men that listen to my podcast. It's pretty awesome. You know, actually I have one man, I'm sure he'll listen. He's a listener. And he just recently got laid off. I was very worried about what he was going to do. And whatever he did, he wanted it to be not something that he settled for, you know?
Absolutely. The hero's journey is essentially for the masculine, again, going back to fear. Yeah. The reason at the edge of our comfort zone, yeah, we meet this place called fear. Yeah. These false expectations appearing real. And the key for the masculine, yeah, is to lean into the edge, lean into the fear. The opposite of courage is conformity. Yeah, and so many men are conforming to a life less lived, that's not full of passion, that's not full of presence. And it's not about leaving your job, leaving your marriage, leaving the country necessarily. It's just from the inside out. How do I live with more passion? How do I live with more presence, more joy for my beloved, for my family, for my community? Yeah, and men who are willing to cultivate that's the foundation of the practices I teach. And often what happens is I then end up working with the couples as well, because, you know, whilst I lean into men, typically I work with men early 40s to mid 50s. As I mentioned earlier, typically they're married, they've got a mortgage, they've got a business yet, or they're in leadership and they've got children. It's the householder's life, you know. It's like,
well, that's this guy. I know he's going to
Yeah.
contact you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I already know he is. Yes. So do you do like one-on-one sessions? Do you do workshops?
Yeah, I'm doing a mixture. I'm actually starting today. I've got a group of men, 20 men from around the globe. I'm doing a 3-month program with virtually on Zoom.
Okay. A few times a
Yeah,
year.
I do 3 or 4 of those a year. Yeah, and this one is about distraction to present.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about taking, the biggest feedback I get from the wives I work with is, can you please just get him off the bloody phone? Can you please? It's like, it's this journey of distraction that we're addicted to, in our culture. I work one-on-one with men. I do group programs with men. I do retreats as well. I've just done a 5-day retreat to the center of Australia with 10 men. It was amazing, beautiful, right into the heart of Australia, where we just go deep. And I run 4 or 5. I ran one in the UK. I run 4 or 5 of those a year as well. So there's plenty of ways if men are keen to, connect with the work. And my passion is, just building a community of men who are steeped in this work, who can take this to their marriages, to their parenting, to their businesses. And really embody those, again, presence, purpose, and passion.
My dad, he was a very successful businessman. I mean, everyone knew him as this. And when I was a little kid, he made really good money. And I was so spoiled, it was ridiculous. But he worked a lot. And he worked out of state a lot, and even had houses in other places because he would, be in all over the world all the time. And when my little brother wanted to play baseball, he couldn't be there as much and stuff. And he quit his job. Wow. And he went to work for himself so that he could be in our lives. And it's insane. But you know what? He may not have made as much money, but he never missed not one ball game of my children's, not until the day he died. He would shut down his business. He'd put a note on the door, like closed, for an hour or whatever. Never, because that was what was important to him. And and you know what? That's worth so much more than, having all the things.
One of the exercises that listeners can do, particularly any of the men, is often ask men to define success. And the first list that comes up is like our resume success, built a business, climbed the corporate ladder, made money. And then I ask him to do, what's your eulogy success? What would success look like in your eulogy? And you can feel the difference. And it's all about the relationships. It's all about, because that's what we essentially want. We just have lost touch with that. And when men anchor in and realize you can have both, it's the being and the doing, it's the relationship and the action. That you can be the father you want to be, the husband you want to be, and build a business.
And it took risk. Can you imagine? He quit
the comfort zone again.
Still made good money, and he forced us to work for him.
But a courage again, that, from courage to conformity. He could have conformed and stayed in the corporate job and not gone to baseball, but he had the courage to do it differently.
I know.
So,
and we only had, 60. Well, he died at 64. And when I think about, my kids knew him like on a daily, he was in our lives. His success. I think if anyone asked, even though he was a very smart businessman, he was known for that. He could sell anything. But he was known for loving his family and being there.
That beautiful Maya Angelou quote, people don't remember what you did. They don't even remember what you said. They remember how they felt when they were with you. That's the gift. That's present. That's present.
It's a life well lived.
Exactly. Oh, beautiful.
Well, I better hurry up and get my book out.
You're running out of time. So lovely to connect. What a beautiful conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your wisdom. Can you tell everybody, what is your website, and do you have any social media that they can follow you at?
The website's www.bodhialdridge, BODHIALDRIDGE.com. And on Instagram, Aldridge Bodhi, and on Facebook. And any of the listeners, probably not many of the listeners, LinkedIn, I'm always posting things there for my business clients. The website's there. There's lots of podcasts. There's the giveaway. there's blogs, and yeah, I know a lot of your listeners are the feminine, so encourage them all. You know, the podcast, it's called True Freedom. You can get it on my website. You can get it on Spotify, Apple. Hand it to your husbands next time they're driving to work.
On parenting, you know, you're not just talking about, you know, business. And I love how you connect that, you know, you can be this person in all areas of your life.
And that's it. And we're just covering topics again for householders, you know, relationship, money, parenting, you know, all of those things, because that's the human experience.